Good morning and greetings. Good morning. It's lovely to be here, lovely to see you all. And it's beautiful outside. My name is Darcy Anderson. I am a member of the Board of Trustees, and I welcome you humbly to our lovely abode and to our service. Unitarian Universalism encourages an open-ended search for the meaning in life and a commitment to asking our values to shape our actions. We are a pluralistic religion that draws wisdom from many sources. We welcome all people into our community of whatever age, race, class, ethnicity, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or religious background. We especially welcome those of you who may be worshiping with us for the first time. We invite you to join us after service for coffee and snacks so we may have the opportunity to get to know you. Guests are welcome to participate in any activities in our community. If you'd like more information about our congregation, or if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask any of the board members or Reverend Patrick Price. Thank you.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. I'm shorter than Darcy. Can you hear me well? How's that? Okay. Thought I should get those logistics out of the way. Hi, my name is Anne Marie Tody, and I'm part of the planning team for the upcoming UU Connection Circles. For many, connection circles are new, thus unfamiliar. That can be intimidating when trying to decide to join, right? Well, here's an invitation for you to have a personal experience without further commitment. When? The Sunday service on February 5th. Where? Right here in UU Sanctuary. Time? 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. What to bring? You. You are enough. But you are also welcome to invite anyone else you know who is curious about connection circles. Here's what I know from my previous participation in UU Connection Circle. There are guidelines, a covenant, created by individual circle designed to provide a safe vessel for all the circle's participants. There will be one facilitator or two co-facilitators. The topics are well designed. The independent exercises, when offered, are presented in a variety of ways, and you choose the one that speaks to you. However, the individual sharing and the listening while in circle is priceless. The topics are usually designed to run sequentially and are not, I repeat, are not written by the facilitators or the UUCQC planning team, but are offered by multiple trusted UUA sources. You get what you put into it, and that just might be getting to know yourself on a deeper level, cultivating a deeper connection with member participants, or find a topic or discussion that has altered a strongly held belief. You'll be introduced to new perspectives by listening to the other participants. What is said in circle stays in circle. However, the materials provided to you in circle can be shared with people not in your circle. Thus, trust is a key component of participation in a circle, creating a safe space along with building and nurturing right relations. You decide the level of sharing that is comfortable for you. Should you want to opt out of sharing your thoughts on the topic being discussed while in circle, you have that option. Just say, pass. Excuse me. There will be a level of commitment you'll need to make to join a circle. This first connection circle opportunity being offered is designed for an 8-week commitment, meeting 2 times a month beginning in the middle of February through the middle of June. Let me end by saying, until you personally experience a connection circle, me telling you they are great is just plain insufficient. And if we come to be in the same connection circle, I look forward to getting to know you better. Thank you. Yes. There will be multiple options. So that is discerned by the connection circle facilitator, whether they're willing to do a Zoom or a Zoom and in person or strictly in person. Yes. That's in service. That is in service. That will be our February 5th service. Correct. Thank you.
You get a sample on the 5th to try it out. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. To live life and to love life is to notice the wonders that abound. And to notice the wonders that abound is to be grounded here and now. And to be grounded here and now is the beginning of finding love for life today. Let us ground ourselves in this instant in the worship of all things good and right. Let us join together in saying our unison chalice lighting on the screen. We come together every week, bound not by a creed or mutual desire to please one God or many gods. Yet we are drawn together by a belief that how we are in the world, who we are together, matters. We light this chalice together in the knowledge that love, not fear, can change this world. And now let us join in singing our opening hymn this morning, number 38 in your hymnal and on the screen, Morning Has Broken. Please rise as you're willing and able in body or spirit. spring has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for the springing, fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness, by God's rest. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one life, Eden's way. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day. Please remain standing and join us in our responsive reading, Deeper. We would go deeper. Cannot even imagine today. We would become courageous. May it know to delight in congregations filled with different perspectives. We would know unutterable joy. We would be filled with gratitude. May we go deeper. May our time together calm our hearts and sharpen our minds. May our learning know no end. May we find the sacred within us, around us. May we see the beauty in each other's faces. May we find our way to the depth of being, and there know holiness. And in this spirit, we greet the holy in our midst by briefly turning and greeting our neighbors.
Good morning, everyone. If you can hear me, touch your nose. If you can hear me, clap your hands. If you can hear me, sit down.
What a joy that we love each other so much.
All right, so my name is Tiffany. I am filling in for Ken this morning for our Words for All Ages. So this morning we are going to do a gratitude checklist. So I want everybody to look around the room and find something in the room that makes you smile. Now find a friend who makes you laugh. Find something that looks beautiful. Find something or someone that helps you learn. Now, if everyone can close your eyes and think of something that tastes good. think of something that makes you smile. Think of something you want to share with your friends. And think of something that makes you feel strong. Okay, and with that, we will sing the children out.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. You may go. Our reading this morning is by Walt Whitman, For You. The sum of all known reverence I add up in you, whoever you are. Those who govern are there for you. It is not you who are there for them. All architecture is what you do to it when you look upon it. All music is what awakens from you when you are reminded by instruments. The sun and the stars that float in the open air, the apple-shaped earth and we upon it, the endless pride and outstretching of people, unspeakable joys and sorrows, the wonder everyone sees in everyone else they see, and the wonders that fill each minute of time forever. It is for you, whoever you are. It is no farther from you than your hearing and sight are from you. It is hinted by nearest, commonest, readiest. We consider Bibles and religion divine. I do not say they are not divine. I say they have all grown out of you and may grow out of you still. It is not they who give the life. It is you who give the life. Will you seek afar off? You surely come back at last in things best known to you, finding the best or as good as the best. Happiness, knowledge, not in another place, but this place, not for another hour, but this hour. We come to this time in our service when we reflect on those things which are of gratitude for us individually and collectively. My friend and colleague Victoria Weinstein has written this. She says, "This congregation is a theologically diverse religious community with membership open to all who are in accordance with our principles, mission, and vision. This is a welcoming congregation to people of all sexual orientations, and we are unconditionally welcome, any and all of you, to our community of mutual caring and serious intent to grow as spiritual and moral beings. This congregation is entirely self-governed by democratic processes. One of the privileges of our free church tradition is to provide all of the financial support for our many ministries from among ourselves. Generosity, therefore, is one of the spiritual values that we recognize as central to our personal and institutional well-being. You are now invited to participate in the blessing of giving as ushers come forward among you to accept the gifts of this congregation. At this time, we also create a spirited open moment if you wish to come forward to light a candle of joy, concern, or for a milestone in your life. Thank you. Let us become aware of the energy that brings us together in our shared joys, sorrows, concerns, and beliefs as we move into this time of quiet. May we each open our minds and hearts to a place of calm and allow the coming of love to fill us. And now I will share those joys, concerns, and milestones that have been shared with us. Alan, has anything been shared online? Okay. Elaine Kress has offered that she has a joy that she had successful knee surgery last Thursday and is now recuperating at home. Tom Lojudas offers a happy Lunar New Year and offers concerns for friends in China who may be suffering with COVID. I am offering up a happy news for the 50th anniversary of Roe v. Wade and for new laws in Illinois that were passed a week ago for the greater protection of reproductive rights in Illinois. My concern and grief is that the Peoria Planned Parenthood clinic, medical clinic, not a procedure clinic, was firebombed last Sunday morning. It was definitely arson. They think they knew who they're looking for, who did this, but the clinic will be closed for months, and patients have been redistributed to other clinics and providers in the Peoria area and Bloomington, Illinois, and others. But our concerns for Planned Parenthood, no one was, of course, injured, but hundreds of thousands of dollars were done and damage were done to the clinic. So our prayer is for those who work there and provide for those who are in need. Let us enter into a moment in reflection as we consider this prayer offered by my colleague Lynn Cox. Spirit of life, who draws us together in a web of holy relationships, make your presence known with us and in us and among us. Remind us that we are not alone in history. Ignite us with the courage of the living tradition. Remind us that we are not alone in entering the future. Anchor us with patience and perseverance. Remind us that we are not alone in our times of grief and pain. Comfort us with your Spirit, manifest in human hands and voices. Remind us that we are not alone in joy and wonder. Inspire us to honor and to extend the beauty we find in this world, divine music of the universe. Let our hearts beat in diverse and harmonious rhythms, cooperating with an everlasting dance of love. May we move with the rhythms of peace. May we move with the rhythms of compassion. May we move with the rhythms of justice. Source of stars and planets and water and land, open our hearts to all our neighbors. Open our souls to a renewal of faith. Open our hands to join together in the work ahead. So be it. Blessed be. Amen. In this spirit, let us now open our hearts to a moment of singing together our hymn of reflection. Number 95 in your hymnal and on your screen, There is More Love Somewhere, and rise as you're willing and able in body and or spirit. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. I know you can sing louder. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy. Let me hear the joy. Somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. Thank you. Please be seated. I knew you could do it. You all make a lot of noise when you're busy greeting each other. You do, and I know you can sing louder than that. So please do. Driving into Davenport from Peoria over the last 4 months or so, yes, it's been that long. Can you believe it? I've had the chance to watch the weather and the landscape change with the seasons. Behold, there are cycles of many types, both annual and lifelong, including the rites of passages and holidays, which we usually identify as important and sacred times in our lives. They are times of intention and focus. The rituals we engage in are designed to pull us out of the usual mode of being, out of ordinary time, and to help us to be present in sacred time. Unfortunately, the rituals sometimes become rote or become ends in of themselves, like a wedding or a bar mitzvah or a Christmas, which becomes an excuse for ostentatious displays of wealth or just another thing to do on our calendars, rather than as a celebration of a special moment in our life. But when we are aware, focused, and present, we may cross over the threshold of our everyday functioning to living in sacred time. One of the purposes and functions of ritual, of worship, of setting aside a time for Sabbath, of spiritual disciplines, and other forms of sacred time is to provide us with some of the psychological and emotional spaces that we need in our lives. Current psychological theories tell us that as people who develop and mature, we generally move from states of dependency when we are children, then into independence as teenagers. I have a 14-year-old, I should know this. And as young adults, and finally into interdependence as we move into more mature states of adulthood. Now, that's all in theory, of course. We know some people who've never gotten past the independent stage, right? Or maybe the dependent stage. But throughout this development, at some level, we all have a need to be able to enter into the presence of that which we experience as larger than ourselves. This can be understood as many things, from God and goddess to family and community to organizations. This is usually experienced as some form of sacred time. However, and whatever we call this thing larger than ourselves, we need to enter into this experience with varying levels of regularity in order to be vulnerable and to recompose and to reintegrate ourselves and to move back into a more everyday and interdependent mode of being. Entering into a state of extra dependency is an act of recreation. In many ways, it functions for our conscious minds much the same way that dreaming does for our unconscious minds. It provides us with a method of reclaiming and processing the important things in our lives and reassimilating ourselves in light of those encounters. What often occurs is a sense of renewal, of being born again, of being transformed. It may be what some of us call a spiritual experience. Spirituality is, after all, the profound experience of our reconnection with that which is ultimately meaningful in our lives. Some of the examples of extra dependency that are a little more familiar to some of us are things like recovery groups. The purpose of those organizations, the reason they do what they do, is they provide a safe space for someone who is spending all of their time and energy and their willpower holding themselves together. But in that group, they don't have to do that. The group does it for them. And the group becomes a state of extra dependency for them to be able to let go for a few moments and to spend some time reflecting and reintegrating and not just holding themselves together. Extra dependency is one of the things which pulls us toward the need for sacred time in our lives. It is the experience many refer to when they talk about letting go and let God. And it explains the role of a higher power, whether we believe in one or not, in some of the 12-step groups that I just mentioned, where people are literally trying to reintegrate themselves into healthier ways of being. In discussing extra dependency, I'm not trying to reduce religious experience to a psychological impulse or to create a psychological reason for a belief in God as God, or whatever you will. Rather, it is important to understand that all people enter into relationship with something they experience as larger than themselves, whatever they may understand it to be. By being extra dependent, we are vulnerable, stripped of all the trappings of our lives, of our roles as parent and child, worker, spouse, partner, etc. We are only ourselves before that which we consider to be a higher state, that which is greater than ourselves. We stand on sacred ground, much like Moses taking off his shoes and standing before the burning bush. We stand on sacred ground within time which is not time, in a world between the worlds, what was and the world yet to be. We are poised like cliff divers on the forming edges of our lives, hovering above the calling waves of the eternal. When we come to be here with one another, many of us are seeking the sanctuary of a safe place where we can be ourselves as we are, before that which we experience as larger than ourselves. We are looking for and hoping to find that extra dependent state of experience. Like eating, we may not remember what the last time was like, but we know when we haven't done it recently. In coming here, many of us come to be present in a place where we can just be for a while, where it is safe to be vulnerable. I had a parishioner years ago in one of my first congregations in the Deep South. As a member of the gay and lesbian community, he said that when I move into this space, I breathe differently. I can relax. I can be who I am and not have to be anything or anyone else. It is my role, and the lay leadership's role, and your role as a healthy congregation, as a religious community, to provide this sanctuary of sacred time and place for yourselves and everyone reasonably possible. While this may mean being tolerant of things you may not agree with totally, people have beliefs in this room who you may totally disagree with, and that is fine. And we can disagree, but it is not our role to make each other feel unwelcome. It is our role to make each other feel that we each have a place here, no matter how we may believe. It does not mean also, on the other hand, be very clear about this, does not mean tolerating behavior or actions of others which are abusive and disrespectful of the nature of sacred time together. When I teach worship classes, and by the way, I will be teaching a class on UU worship in theory and practice. I believe the date is February 18th. Is that the correct Saturday? The 11th Saturday? I'm sorry? The 11th. The 11th, okay. My dates are a little fuzzy right here. This is even fuzzier, but the 11th of February in the afternoon, I will be teaching a class on UU worship in theory and practice. This is not how to do it, but about it, so that you can have a better, think of it as like art appreciation. It'll give you a chance to appreciate the worship experience more and what it means in UU worship in theory and practice. But when I do these classes, I tell my students that people do not necessarily come to hear them speak or whatever they may be doing as a worship leader or as a participant. It is not uncommon for ministers to have requests for written copies of our sermons, only to later be told that we sent the wrong one and that they want the sermon that they heard. Now, for those of us who preach from manuscripts mostly, this is easy to resolve. I have some colleagues who preach pretty much extemporaneously, and for them it's a little more confusing. But the truth is that the sermon that is heard often has little relationship to the one that is preached. I've had this experience myself, where I have listened to someone preach and swear that I heard them say something, and later come back to it and ask them about it, and they say, I don't know what you heard, but that's not what I said. And I've had this experience many times myself. And this is because the interior work being done at the same time. In sacred time, our focus goes where we need it to rather than where it may be directed externally. One of the advantages in religious traditions where there is rote worship is that you do the rote worship and your brain basically takes a hike. And you're able to then let your mind wander and go in places that it might not go otherwise. Intention and focus are central to our experience of sacred time. In worship, we seek to bring conscious focus those things which on a daily basis are often relegated to the periphery of our awareness. In the process of living our lives, we often put aside the emotions, the memories, the concerns, which are actually important, but not apparently urgent to us. The urgent generally overwhelms the important in our lives. The practice of mindfulness, engaged in by many spiritual disciplines, is an attempt to hold before us at all times the important, to stay focused in the reality of what many call sacred time. It is in the realm of sacred time where we may see and experience the nature of things and people more completely, sort of like rush hour. It is not uncommon for me to be asked how I like being back here in the Midwest after having been in the South for many years. Okay, it's not me. I usually respond that it is great, and I really enjoy what I am doing, especially here now as your interim minister. One astute colleague recently asked me what I missed about the Dallas-Fort Worth area and other larger cities like Chicago and other places I've lived. And I immediately responded, the long commutes, which I actually have now here with you all. And a comment at that moment, it caught me off guard. And in reflection, what I believe prompted that response was not my missing the bumper-to-bumper traffic or the exhaust fumes on expressways. God, no. But instead, I missed the time alone with myself, which I am now getting in my hour-and-a-half commutes back and forth. And that was forced upon me by circumstances of commuting. It has been said that a peculiar feature of Western culture, particularly American culture, is our need and necessity to be in motion in order to be still. My father, my late father, one of the only times I could ever get him to talk about deep personal things was when he was driving or on a walk. When he was in motion, he could be distracted and still enough to actually then have the deeper relationship, the deeper communication. Some of my siblings have said, how did you get Dad to talk about that? I said, I was driving with him, long distance. He loved to drive long distance. He spent years doing that in jobs. Or I said, or we took a walk, and I brought it up. My experience personally is that I had a car for many years. It was a 1989 Hyundai Excel, which drove for 11 years. I had a mechanic in one of my congregations said, you must be a holy man, because only a holy man can make one of these cars last for 11 years. But because it didn't have a radio for many years. I put one in eventually. I was left alone with my own internal sounds and noise. And I find in this way that I can then not escape the moment. Sometimes I actually will try and drive long distances without having any kind of distraction in order to try and replicate that. I must be still, even if only temporarily. While I do not recommend attempting to meditate and drive, okay, do not meditate and drive. Do not listen to hypnosis tapes and drive. Okay, as someone trained in hypnosis, I tell you, do not do hypnosis tapes and drive. Even if you're the passenger. Someone said, well, I'm in the passenger, but they're playing it out loud, and the driver, you're saying you're going to put the driver to sleep. Yeah, I've had to tell people not to do this, believe it or not. The experience, I often find I am musing about what that person in the car next to me may be feeling, or one might have just learned what they might have learned, or the pleasure of a passing child's face, smiling faces often, or wildflowers often growing through pavement, or watching the birds, hawks, eagles, even buzzards. There's often a fleeting sensation of being in oneness with those around me. And sometimes there's even a sense of dancing fluidity in a choreographed dance of intention, speed, and steel. In the headlong rush to get to wherever we are going on time, we may enter a situation in which life itself is balanced on an accelerator pedal and a brake pedal. We are driving for our lives, and when we realize that fact, we cross the threshold of awareness of the sacred. We may, even for a split second, understand what is at stake, not only here on this screaming asphalt, but all the time. We may see in a sacred manner the things of the Spirit as they really are, that we are in very real and physical fact responsible to and responsible for each other's well-being in this act. And in that instant be transformed, less angry, less urgent, and more able to appreciate where we are and who we are. Buddhist monk and Zen master, the late Thich Nhat Hanh, writes, in mindfulness, one is not only restful and happy, but alert and awake. Meditation is no evasion. It is a serene encounter with reality. The person who practices mindfulness should be no less awake than the driver of a car. If the practitioner isn't awake, he will be possessed by dispersion and forgetfulness, just like a drowsy driver is likely to cause a grave accident, he says. But as awake, as a person walking on high stilts, any misstep could cause the walker to fall. Only with this kind of vigilance can you realize total awakening. Now, like spiritual practices and spiritual experiences everywhere, this mindfulness does not happen every time I drive, and even often enough to suit me. But it does happen enough to remind me that a spiritual or a meaningful and fulfilling life is not about evasion, it is a serene encounter with reality. Serving here as your interim minister for these few short months, I have also experienced this encounter with reality, sometimes serene and other times not so much. I encounter it with you in the intentionality, focus, and follow-through of your efforts to be a congregation you can and want to be. And in this focus, I see a great deal of awakening happening for you and our faith. In being your interim minister, I too have to focus. I also have done some waking up in aspects of my ministry, and for that I am very grateful. In the extra dependency and mindfulness of worship, congregational life, spiritual practice, driving, or however we may encounter sacred time, we are open to and aware of the possibilities of life. In sacred time, we are conscious of being engaged in the ongoing process of existence with all of its changes and transitions. We are part of the stream of history and time, and yet outside of time and history. In sacred time, we enter the lives of those who came before us and the hopes we have for those who will come after us. We get a foretaste of the beloved community we seek to find or to create. We come to understand and that together we are all sacred, moving through the sacred all the time, and that ultimately all time is sacred. Amen. Please join us in our closing hymn, number 128, For All That Is Our Life, and rise as you're willing and able in body or spirit. Remember what I said earlier about singing. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. For needs which others serve, for services we give, for work and its rewards, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each new thing we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life, for all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is our gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad. Let us say our chalice extinguishing together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Within each of our hearts there is the most glorious light. Go forth and let its spark help you understand what troubles both you and others. Go forth and let its light be a reason of reason, be a guide in your decisions. Go forth and bring its rays of hope to those in need of help in both body and spirit, that they may find healing. Go forth and fan the flames of passion to help heal our world. Go forth and spread the warm glow of love, pushing back the darkness of the world. Go forth and share your glorious light with the world. May the Eternal bless you and protect you. May the Eternal smile upon you and favor you. May the Eternal befriend you and prosper you in all people always. Amen, and blessed be. We are done, and our service has only begun. Thank you. Please be seated.
know you're